Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I'm going to be answering some of your questions while I get ready to go on a date. I went ahead on Instagram and I asked you guys to submit any questions that you had. So we'll be going over a couple of them today. If you want to see your question get answered, keep watching this video and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Alright, so we got a lot of good questions. The first question that we got was, what was the hardest part of raising two Cane Corsos? So I think that for me, the hardest thing about raising both Dante and Peach was figuring out what drives them. So for example, Dante is a very different dog in comparison to Peach, and I feel like when I got Peach, I kind of like assumed that she would be the same, but she was not. She's like completely, her incentives are so different in comparison to Dante. And I think that that was, you know, just coming to the realization of like, oh, maybe I should be trying some other types of training techniques with her. I think that was one of the hardest things with her, because honestly, in terms of like house training and, you know, manners, Dante made it very easy for me, because I learned a lot from Dante from raising him, and because he's such a great role model, he was amazing for Peach. So Peach a lot of the times would just follow his lead, and that made it very easy for him. So yeah, so I think that would be the hardest part of raising two Cane Corsos. Oh, and I think that also kind of like when we started to do walks with both of them, I think that it was hard because I had to make sure that each one of them was kind of like at the same level in terms of healing, that they knew like what to do and they knew not to be pulling on a leash if they saw distractions. But they both get distracted by very different things, so it was hard to kind of like come into harmony when we would take them on walks together. I hope that answers your question.
Alright guys, so this is a question that I actually completely missed to answer during the video, so I'm going to answer it right now during post. Do you have any certified dog training experience or just started doing this on your own? So dog training is an unregulated field. So when you are looking for a dog trainer, certifications aren't the determining factor for you choosing your dog trainer. It should not be the determining factor, since anybody can certify anyone to become a dog trainer. But with that being said, I was certified to become a dog trainer, and I worked with a very large dog training franchise for most of my dog training work experience.
The next one was, were you nervous before getting this breed that you wouldn't be a good enough leader? Quite honestly, I think that I overestimated how prepared I was. I honestly, here, you know, I'm always honest with you guys. With Dante, I went in thinking that training would be much easier. I didn't think it would be such a big deal, you know, to like make sure to train your dog even when they're home with you, you know, like I think that I was not prepared for that. I didn't realize that that's what it would take. I didn't understand like how much work it would be. I knew that it was like a big dog that I would be owning, but I very much underestimated the amount of training that I would have to do. So yeah, I honestly, that's my answer, and that's why I had to end up actually, you know, fixing my relationship with Dante later on, because since I wasn't applying, you know, structure, since I was not applying structure, I had a lot of catching up to do in terms of his training, as opposed to my husband, who was, you know, from day one always trying to be firm with him, even though he was a very cute puppy, and I was not doing that. So yeah, and then that's why I made a YouTube channel. So, you know, life comes full circle. But now with all the knowledge that I do know, I am nervous for other people getting Corsos, because I'm like, oh my god, like I'm nervous for them, and that's why I try to put out as much information as I can on the channel. So somebody asked, do your dogs have food aggression? If so, how do you correct it? So Dante and Peach do not have food aggression. They don't have food, like they know that if I approach their bowl, you know, they don't do anything. And that's because since they were very little, we made sure that they understood that everything that they had came through us. So they don't have this idea of like, this is mine, this belongs to me, I'm entitled to it. They're like, oh, their view of food and toys and everything is like, oh, you know, it's Michelle that's giving me these things. And they were taught from very early on to work for everything that they had, so they don't have any issues with food aggression. So if you have a dog that does have issues with food aggression, I would recommend that you start to, you know, really focus on your obedience training and make sure that your dog works for everything. But if it is a very severe behavioral issue, the best thing for you to do would be to look for a trainer so that they can help you out. It's really hard for me to give any kind of advice for specific things like this because I don't know the dog, I don't know why he has food aggression, and those are things that a lot of time a trainer has to go and look and see, like, okay, what's going on. There's usually more than just this dog thinks that this food is his. There's underlying things that need to be worked on. The next question was, what was the most frustrating age for Peach and what frustrated you the most about it? Honestly, Peach was such a sweetheart growing up. She did have a little bit of her stubborn phase, like, you know, all Corsos do, where she kind of, you know, if she really didn't want to do something, she wouldn't. But that was quickly fixed with just continuing to be consistent and not letting those kind of things slide. I can more talk about things that frustrated me in terms of Dante, because Dante, he, I think, has a much more stronger personality in comparison to Peach. Like, I remember being so upset with Dante as a puppy because I honestly felt like he would do things to personally get me mad. Like, I would walk down the hallway and he would be like gnawing and biting at my ankles because he wanted to get my attention. So I have more like frustrating stories with Dante than Peach, because Peach she was just honestly a sweetheart. I really cannot remember one thing, except actually because Peach grew up during quarantine, she had way more severe separation anxiety than Dante, so that's something that we really had to work on. So yeah, actually I would say that was worse in Peach than in Dante. Somebody asked, when are the baby Brazils coming? Well, honestly, you guys, I am in no rush whatsoever to have kids. I mean, I think kids are cool, they're great, but I think that they're a huge responsibility, and honestly, like, I'm in no rush to have them. I have my hands full with both Dante and Peach right now, so yeah, no ETA, sorry. All right, next question. How is your tortoise doing, and do you plan on getting more reptiles? Napoleon is great. He's doing really good. We recently discovered that if I scratch his shell, he kind of like shakes, and I have no idea if it's something that he likes or if it's like that it's an annoyance. So he kind of like moves his like little bum like this when I scratch him. It looks like it tickles him, but I'm really not sure, and from what I read on some Tortoise forums, people are not really sure about it either, so it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's something he likes, so yeah, if you guys know why tortoises do that, if you scratch their shell, let me know, because I honestly, I feel like it's 50-50. Some people are like, oh yeah, they like it, it's ticklish. Other people are like, if you're doing it and they're like shaking like that, they want you to get away. So yeah, but do I plan on getting more reptiles? Probably. We love pets, we love animals, we love to learn how to take care of them, and we love like setting up their enclosures and stuff. So yeah, probably we would get another reptile. If we do, I think we'd probably get like a gecko or something, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, next, how to deal with reactivity. All right, so this is a very long answered question that I'm going to try to make as precise as possible, or concise, that's what I meant to say. All right, so with reactivity, the first thing I would say is make sure like you're really working on your obedience training with your dog. And what I mean by really working is like not just like get your dog to sit, like and like hold it for like 10 seconds. I mean like really work on your obedience with, you know, distance, adding distance, duration, and distractions. So, you know, can your dog do a sit and hold that sit while you go to the kitchen? And then can your dog hold that sit while you are like many feet away from them? And same thing with recall, you know, do they turn around back to you when there are a lot of distractions? So first, really work on your obedience training. And the reason that this is so important is because when you start to really like be detailed about the things that you want to perfect in terms of obedience, you start to create a really strong bond with your dog, because you start to note all the things that your dog needs to work on, and you start to like try to figure out a way to get them to hold their commands, and find an incentive for them. So it makes your bond with your dog much stronger. And if your bond with your dog is strong, then he's going to trust you. And if he trusts you, he's going to trust you in circumstances that he feels uncertain. His trust for you would override his instincts. And not only that, but if your dog has great and perfect obedience, but they still need help, this is where the use of training tools may come in handy, whether it's a prong collar, an e-collar, you know. Now, what's very important to note with the training tools is that they're not the cure-all, they're not the fix-all, they're just a tool that is layered on top of all the work that you've been putting in with obedience and all of the, you know, incentives and the food rewards. So it's not, you know, you're going to submit your dog with the tools. That is not the way that they should be used. And you know, if you are going to be using tools and you don't know how to, you need to find a trainer, because you don't want to make, you can, you know, make mistakes with an e-collar. You can make mistakes by using a prong collar incorrectly. So you need to make sure that you're creating a very good association with these tools, and you should be looking for a trainer. And you should also never ever rush anything in terms of reactivity with your dog. So if your dog is not ready, don't take him to that cafe. Don't take him to Home Depot with you. Maybe your dog is just ready for the park, you know? And just being at a distance with other people or with other dogs. Don't go on like a walk where you're not gonna have space between your dog and other dogs, or whatever the triggers are going to be. So you have to be very conscious and very aware and work in baby steps. It was like that with Dante. A lot of times I would get frustrated because I'd be like, oh my gosh, I want to see like progress already. And you will see progress, but you have to do it in baby steps. You cannot rush things. It's better to work, you know, slowly but surely than just go and create more negative experiences with your dog. So yeah, I would say it's very important to take those things into consideration. Get a trainer, you know, to help you, because it's important that you're correcting your dog at the right time, that you're rewarding your dog at the right time. Dogs, you literally have like less than like, I think like a second or like 5 seconds to correct your dog for them to associate the correction with what they did. So you have to make sure that you're really on top of that and that you're using tools appropriately. So this could honestly be a whole video in and of itself, and maybe I will make a video about that. But that's what I would say how to deal with reactivity. Next question is, my dog scratches the walls only when I'm not home. How to stop this behavior? So your dog, you have to figure out why your dog is doing this behavior first. That is the main thing. And from what you're telling me, since your dog only does this when you're not home, I'm assuming that he probably has separation anxiety or is, you know, really bored, one or the other. So if that's the case, if separation anxiety is the case, you need to start to teach your dog to be okay with being by himself in small increments first. That's what we did with Peach. We would leave the house for like, first like, you know, 30 minutes, then an hour, then 2 hours, until she really, you know, got better. With that, my thing just broke. So that's what, you know, you have to figure out why your dog is doing that in the first place. So that's the first thing that I would do. Secondly, you know, make sure that your dog is exercised and that they are mentally stimulated before you leave the house. And that is going to help you fix a lot of problem behaviors. You can also do crate training. Crate training is great. It'll avoid them getting themselves into trouble if they're comfortable with being in a crate. I personally don't crate train the dogs. We are not With Dante, it was because he has seizures, so we never wanted to leave him, you know, crated and for him to be like stuck in a weird position while he was in the crate, you know. So that's why we don't crate train Dante. And then with Peach, I mean, it was honestly never needed because she never really got herself into trouble. We were always like watching her, and we always worked in increments when leaving the house, so she learned to be okay with being by herself. But of course it wasn't always like that, and it was something that we did have to work on. So that's the recommendation that I would do, that I would give you. Okay, those are all the questions I'll be answering for today. If you guys like these kind of videos, please let me know, and I'll still do like a bunch like this, you know, where I just answer your questions, sit down here and talk to you guys. Yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you'd like for me to continue making videos like this. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope I answered all your questions as much as I could, and see you guys until next time. Bye!